our politicians.
Possibly the president is waiting
so
for
the
June
president
12.
has not done. The commissioner, June 12th is not the day to make all these announcements. June 12th is a celebration of democracy. It's not your inauguration day. Your inauguration day is when you make your policies, when you chart out your vision, when you articulate your vision on where you are going and you're taking the state or the country to. So our politicians still get mixed up. And I want to charge our citizens. The politicians will always behave badly if you allow them. It is left for the people to actually put the politicians to task. If you don't do that, if you don't make them accountable, if you don't show them that in the next 4 years, if you don't even try to impeach a governor, then they will continue to behave the way they do. But when we put them to task and they know that when they don't behave well, they can be booted out.
Well, Ambrose, one of the biggest questions now is to what extent the how now? How do we put checks in place to do an assessment of the first 100 days, the first year, and a whole lot more? Putting the power now in the hands of the people, because having protests does not necessarily make any meaning here.
Well, Nigerians don't know how to protest. I mean, when we see protests, like the Yellow Vest protests in France, we saw how powerful it was. Nigerians can protest if they want. In the last 4 years, we have just been pretending. In 2012, when we did the no subsidy, no removal of fuel subsidy protest, it grounded the country. Did government rescind their decision or not? When we are ready, we are ready. June 12th, 1993, the subsequent, things that made the military dictator step down.
Okay.
So when we are ready, we are ready. Now we are not ready. We are just playing.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Ambrose Igboke.
Thank you.
And hopefully we do the needful as a people. We now shift focus to Ekiti State, as the state governor, Dr. Kaide Fayemi, will on Thursday, June 6, inaugurate the state's 6th assembly in Ado-Ekiti. The clerk of the House made this known in a statement made available to newsmen in Ado-Ekiti on Saturday. According to him, the proclamation by the governor signifies the inauguration of the assembly. The news agency of Niger reports that the ceremony will be held at the main chamber of the assembly at 10 a.m. He urged members of the State Executive Council, religious and traditional rulers, as well as the general public, to be part of the occasion. Reports also have it that the All Progressives Congress won all of the 26 states in Ekiti Assembly. In other reports now, the Christian Association of Nigeria has condemned President Muhammadu Buhari's trip to the meeting of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation just today after his inauguration, noting that it was unconstitutional and confirmed worries about the alleged Islamization agenda. Khan added that President Buhari began his second term in office and he should have a blueprint for the security challenges facing the country, as well as avoid lopsided appointment in every facet of the government, especially in the appointment of its chief security officers. Now, in a bid to end train ticket racketeering, passengers plying the Abuja-Kaduna train route have called on the federal government of Nigeria to do the needful. Some of them spoke to Plus TV Africa, saying that they have witnessed the unpleasant experience, which has taken advantage of passengers. They want the government to put in place more efforts to curb this practice.
The last time I followed from Abuja to Kaduna, I was there before 4, and they told me that the ticket is finished. Number one. The second one, and when they said the ticket is finished, later on they start selling the ticket 5 to 10 minutes to 6 before the train leaves. You see, this is a poor management. But when we are there and we saw some of them giving some people tickets in their hands, maybe they are white collars or something like that, or that we don't know everybody, we don't know anybody there, so we don't have the ticket. That's how we struggle to find the standing ticket.
Where the train is supposed to be for 10:35, I think, and I was there by 9:45. I was on the queue. The ticket has already been exhausted. That was what they told us. So we were on the queue, still waiting for maybe if there's opportunity for standing ticket. And some were being pointed out. I was looking at somebody, he just called 2 girls and gave them tickets. We were all there. We queuing. And some were given the opportunity to have a sitting ticket. Some people, I think, bought the ticket and they were holding it, calling people to sell maybe in not the right bill. Because the standing ticket, they said, is supposed to be 1,300, and I think maybe they were collecting 1,700 or so. That was what I had. If there are 100 tickets, 100 people should be in the train. There shouldn't be excess. We're all running away from the road, and the train was overloaded. It was overloaded. What if something happened? Well, what are we going to do? Something has to be done about the ticketing. There's a problem there.
Well, that's it on the news across Nigeria. Coming up shortly, we have other reports from the rest of Africa. Stay with us. In other reports from the rest of Africa now, the United States is sowing the wind and reaping the whirlwind by waging a trade war with China, which would have a negative effect on the world economy. That's according to the former Egyptian Prime Minister, Essam Abdelaziz Sharaf. He said that the trade faction between China and the United States is the child of U.S. hegemony in essence after he attended a seminar on shared development and coexistence of civilizations in Cairo. The former Egyptian Prime Minister said against the current big background of economic globalization, cooperation among all countries, especially large economies, is underpinned by the interwoven interest. The U.S. unilateral trade protectionist practices cannot protect its interest at all, but will hurt itself in the long run. Trade tensions flared between the world's two biggest economies after the United States has not only imposed higher tariffs on imports from China, but also used it to state power to suppress Chinese companies, including Huawei. And military police have opened fire at protesters in the capital of Khartoum. The incident occurred near the headquarters of the armed forces, where the officers attempted to dismantle barricades made by protesters and, after a few clashes with them, started shooting. The situation in the country remains tense after, in April, the Sudanese military arrested President Omar al-Bashir and dozens of high-ranking officials, establishing a transitional military council. Hundreds of protesters have reportedly taken refuge in a mosque near the Blue Nile Bridge, and at the moment there is no official information about the casualties. The protest leaders earlier announced a sit-in near the military's headquarters, urging the Transitional Military Council to give power to the civilian government. The opposition forces for the Declaration of Freedom and Change and the Military Council have held several rounds of negotiations about the transfer of power. However, according to the opposition spokesperson Satya Al-Haj, the talks stopped a week ago as the sides could not reach an agreement. He said that the movement is planning to establish a parliamentary republic with expanded powers of the government and parliament for a transitional period. On the flip side of this break comes other reports from the rest of the international front. Now, China has applied higher tariff rates to some of the products imported from the United States starting from today, Saturday. And that's according to announcement number 3 issued by Chinese Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council. China had earlier imposed additional tariffs on $60 billion worth of goods imported from the US. The newly applied tariffs rates for some of the imported US products have now increased to 25%, 20% as well as 10%, and that's according to the announcement. The tariff rate for items subject to the previous 5% additional tariff remains unchanged. That's also contained in the announcement. Officials in the U.S. city of Virginia Beach have named the 12 people killed by a gunman who went on a rampage in a municipal building on Friday. City Manager Dave Hansen said the victims, 11 local authority workers and 1 contractor, leave a void we will not be able to fill. That's his quote. The gunman shot indiscriminately before dying in a gun battle with the police. He has been identified as Dwayne Craddock and described by the police as a disgruntled city employee. Authorities said they would only refer to him by name once in order to focus attention on the victims. It's time to bring you business news updates. And talking business, the United States kicked off its 25% tariffs on many Chinese goods arriving in U.S. seaports on Saturday morning in an intensification of the trade war between the world's 2 largest economies. This is according to Reuters news agency. On the 10th of this month, last month, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed a tariff increase on a $200 billion list of Chinese goods on May 10, but had allowed a grace period for seaborne cargoes that departed China before that date, keeping them at the prior 10% duty rate. The U.S. Trade Representative's Office in May 15 Federal Register notice set a June 1 deadline for those goods to arrive in the United States, after which U.S. Customs and Border Protection would begin collecting the 25% duty rate at U.S. ports. The deadline expired at 12:01 a.m., that's according to the local time, on Saturday, and Beijing has grown more stringent in recent weeks, accusing Washington of lacking sincerity and vowing that it will not cave to the President Donald Trump's administration's demands. That's it in business news. Still to come, we have entertainment and sports news updates.
Getting relaxed at a great hotel and spa, shopping in the best malls of this world, and touring the City of Gold. There is just one destination that can make you have all experiences in one. Discover Dubai with WakaNow.com. Book your travel with WakaNow and get free airport pickups in Dubai. WakaNow can book your flights, hotel, tours, and much more. We have an international travel sim for use anywhere in the world with non-roaming rates. Contact WakaNow.com for the cheapest prices to Dubai. WakaNow.com.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
In entertainment news updates, comedian Bill Cosby has dropped plans to pursue his countersuit against a group of women who accused him of sexual assault. He's 7 times behind bars for drugging and raping Andrea Constant in 2004. His lawyers have since filed papers in a Massachusetts court to formally close the countersuit, and the 81-year-old spokesperson Andrew Wyatt said that Cosby chose to end the legal dispute to focus on other matters. The actor was sentenced to serve 3 years to 10 years behind bars after a jury found him guilty of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault against Constant last year. Cosby is in prison pending an appeal. Sports news update is next. And talking sports now, as part of activities to mark this year's World Bicycle Day, the United Nations Information Center, in collaboration with the Psychology Riding Club and African Cycling Initiative in Lagos, organized an event to create awareness for cycling as a way of life for improving good health and fitness. Our sports correspondent Samson Oloyede was there and files in this report.
The United Nations in 2018 declared every 3rd of June as the World Bicycle Day. However, the day's activities have been shifted to today for the ease of cycling, since the 3rd falls on a Monday, known for hustle and bustle on roads and the business environment. The United Nations Information Center, in collaboration with Psychology Riding Club and African Cycling Initiative, celebrated the 2019 World Bicycle Day by creating awareness of cycling as a way of life for improving good health and fitness, as well as mental balance, and as a catalyst for economic growth.
Declaring this day, the 3rd of June, by the General Assembly as the World Bicycle Day, is to foster rural development. It's also to promote good health, amongst people. And then with the climate change all over the places and emission, we want to begin to let people understand that riding bicycles as a means of transportation will reduce emission from vehicles. And then people can at least cut down on pollution, have clean air for people to breathe. That way, we'll be promoting the SDG 3, which is good health and well-being.
For today's event, it is really about creating an awareness as to how cycling can be a catalyst for economic growth, a way of life for improving health, good health, infusing good health and fitness, and generally mental balance.
The captain of the Psychology Riding Club, Bimpe Olufemi, tells us more about the club and its objectives.
Psychology is a cycling club. It was started about 7-8 years ago. Cycling helps you with your health. So healthy living is a key thing for us. We also have, part of what we do is we cycle to showcase social issues. So that's part of our CSR campaign. But the last thing is really about grassroots cycling.
In a bid to expand the sport to the grassroots, the African Cycling Initiative works with kids, especially secondary school students, through various cycling competitions and, in some instances, the provision of bicycles.
We have the Share the Road initiative also, because as much as those facilities are not in place, the ones in place also should be utilized properly. And so the Share the Road initiative is also focused on improving road etiquette among road users. So whilst in prospect, the Lagos State government will be thinking about putting infrastructure in place, the Share the Road initiative will at least start with management of what we have and how we use what we have.
In conclusion, while the sport of cycling is not popular within the Nigerian populace, bodies such as the United Nations, Psychology Riding Club, African Cycling Initiative, and Sustainable Cycling Foundation are doing commendably well in highlighting the sport's importance to healthy living, as well as showcasing social issues.
And that news roundup of events at this hour from our Lagos studio. For more news update and broadcast, please follow us at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. Many thanks for watching.
He pulled me to an uncompleted building, tore my pants and raped me.
I no longer move freely on the street. My life is being threatened by the culprit.
I cried all through the night. I was just...
She was pushed on the floor here, and this is where the horrible crime occurred.
The way we